my name's Rosemary Bristol, and I'm going to talk about current issues in education. Does poverty impact a student's education? So first, let's start off with what is poverty. Poverty is the state or condition of having little or no money, goods, or means of support. Condition of being poor. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the poverty threshold in 2019 for a family of four was $25,926. So if you made this amount annually or below, you were considered to be living in poverty. Poverty can be caused by many things: generational poverty or being born into poverty, a bad job market with high unemployment rates. If you have a low education, that could get in your way of getting jobs and cause poverty. Social injustice and lack of government support can also be a contributing factor. So how many students are living in poverty? Well, in 2018, 18% of students were living in poverty. In about half of the largest 100 cities in the United States, most African American and Latino students attend schools where at least 75% of all students qualify as poor or low income under federal guidelines. As of 2018, 13 million or 1 in 6 children are food insecure. Food insecurity can lead to students falling behind academically and socially. It's also associated with lower reading and math skills and can lead to behavioral problems. So this is a map showing the percent of low-income students in the U.S. as of 2013. The national average then was 51%, so about half of students in the United States were in low-income families. Mississippi leading this with 71% of students living in poverty, and New Hampshire had the lowest amount with only 27% of students. How does poverty affect students? Poverty affects students in many ways. Poverty leads to poor physical health and motor skills, therefore reducing a child's readiness for school. Children living in poverty also have a harder time concentrating, remembering information, as well as being attentive, curious, and motivated. Living in poverty can also affect a student's mental health. Many children living in poverty struggle to get proper nutrition and may have a disruptive home life. Children living in poverty have a higher number of absenteeism, basically being absent from school, or leave school altogether because they are more likely to have to work or care for family members, like babysitting if their parents are working. So recently, the Trump administration made a proposal on how they were going to lower the poverty line in America. And now remember, the poverty line is like an annual income. If you make that or below, you're considered to be in poverty. So the Department of Health and Human Services put out poverty guidelines, and that's used to determine the financial eligibility for federal programs like food stamps, federal housing, Medicaid. And the administration is considering lowering the poverty line, which would exclude thousands of people from services that they may need. So instead of it being $25,000, for example, it may be $23,000. So while this does technically lower the poverty line, it's by no means a solution for the problem. More than 300,000 children can lose coverage through Medicaid as well as federal nutritional services because they will not be qualified under new conditions. So dropout rates of 16 to 23-year-old students who come from low-income families are 7 times higher than those who come from families with higher incomes. Students living in poverty are much less likely to enroll in college immediately following high school. Courtney Davis did a study on this, and it was shown that 76% of low poverty students enrolled in college after graduation, and only 51% of high poverty students enrolled. So what can we do to help students who are experiencing poverty? Unfortunately, a lot of teachers don't expect much from students who do live in poverty. However, in order to help improve their life and academic achievement of students, it's important that we as educators have high expectations in our students. Holding students to high expectations allows them to work towards reachable goals that can empower them with motivation. Building relationships with students and their families has also been proven to improve student success in school, as well as social competencies and emotional well-being. It's important to help teach students facing poverty social emotional learning strategies. Most poverty-stricken students have low emotional intelligence and may have troubling personal lives, so taking the time to connect with these students and building trust, respect, and communication is vital. Schools can help students living in poverty by teaching social justice and by offering equal academic opportunities to those students. It's also important that schools provide resources to struggling students like school supplies, snacks, clothes, and other basic necessities. In my opinion, poverty absolutely affects children in school. Starting from birth, children living in poverty are at a disadvantage. Adults living in poverty are more likely to have limited access to proper health care and nutrition, and as a result, they have a higher chance of having children who are born premature, which can make education more difficult in the future by delaying cognitive development. Throughout their lives, these students usually have disruptive home lives, which can cause education to not be the top priority. Students living in poverty deal with bias their whole life as well. It's important for us as educators to stand up and be champions for these students and be there to support them and help them succeed in school.